It's been so long since I filmed. Hello and welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you are new here, today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I plan on reading for the month of December. So if you're interested to see what I plan on reading for that month, then keep on watching. I just want to start off by saying that this TBR is not geared toward like Christmassy books or like holiday books. There are a couple on this list, but that is not the purpose of this TBR. That's not like my intentions. My plan for December is to use December to basically catch up. It's basically a wrap-up month. It's a month for me to try to go back and like read either books that I said I was going to read that I never got around to this year, read books that I need to read in order to accomplish some of the reading goals that I set for myself for 2023, to complete some of the reading challenges or readathons that I've been participating in for the year. So it's basically kind of like a catch-all month. It is not going to be specifically geared towards the holidays. So if you were looking for like holiday recommendations, like I said, there's maybe like one or two in this list, but other than that, this is the wrong video for that. So I just wanted to get that out the way before somebody feels like they've been misled thinking that they were going to get a bunch of Christmas recs, because you're not. So now that we got that out of the way, I am going to start with a book that will look very familiar because it was on my TBR for last month, and that is Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. And I'm not going to go into what this book is about. It's basically about gods and angels and demons and the end of the world and the apocalypse and them like misplacing or like they lost track of the Antichrist, but is back on the TBR because although it was on my TBR last month for November, I did read it, but I didn't finish it. I soft DNF'd it. I got to like 51 or 52%. I read enough of it that I could count it as a DNF and get points for it before they get a clue readathon. But I did not finish it. It was a little bit too much in that moment, so I decided that it would be better if I just soft DNF, like just put it down and come back to it when I have a little more time to focus on it and dedicate to it, because I wouldn't want to rush through the book, not understand half of what's going on, and then rate it really low because I rushed through it. So I just figured it was just better to come back to it when I have a little bit more time. So I'll be coming back to it for December. One of the things that I will say about this book is I was listening to it on audio, and I was listening to like the dramatization, whatever the word is, where it's like a full cast narration and there's like music and sound effects and stuff like that. It was very like immersive. Like it was cool between like the setting, the jargon that's used, the colloquialisms that's used, the accents, me listening to it at like a faster speed. I just couldn't, half the time I didn't know what was going on. Also, the way this book is written, it like jumps around from like scene, there's like a lot of scene cuts and stuff that's happening. So it definitely makes sense. Like I can't wait to finish this book so that I can go watch the show, because just in what I did read, I could definitely see how this could work really well for television, because it kind of jumps around. There's a lot of different characters, a lot of different like kind of like side stories all happening simultaneously. You're kind of like bouncing around and stuff. So it just got to be too confusing for me to keep up with over audio. So I decided to DNF, and now I'm coming back around to it for December. So hopefully I will actually make it through this time and be able to understand what's going on and be able to better appreciate the book. This is another one, and it is The Royal Holiday by Jasmine Guillory. I talked about this in my November TBR. I wanted to get to this for the month of for November, but I ended up not being able to get to it. So it is back on the TBR for December. And it kind of makes sense that it's on the TBR for December because it is a holiday themed book. I'm not going to go into detail about the synopsis because I talk about it in my November TBR. So if you're interested, you can go check that video out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading at least one holiday related book during the month of December. The next book on the list is also one from November, and that is The Calvary Road by Roy Heston. I definitely need to get this book read because I had a goal to read 2 Christian books by the end of the year, and the entire year has basically gone by and I have not read a single one. So I am pushing myself. I said that I was going to read this during November. I did not get around to it. So I am really pushing myself. Like I'm really prioritizing this book as well as the next book for that same reason, because they are both going to go towards that goal that I set for myself. And the second book is Gentle and Lowly by, who's the author? Dane C. Ortlund. I'm not sure if I said that name right. But yeah, both of those books are Christian books that I have heard good things about. One of them is the one that we're reading for my Bible study group. So I have a feeling that we will finish it. Actually, no, that's probably not true. We probably won't finish it before the end of the year. I probably will have to finish it on my own. They say that when you come to class, you should read ahead so that you know what's going on and you can follow along. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, those are the two Christian books that I plan on hopefully finishing by the end of the year. Neither one of them is that long. I think Calvary Road is maybe like a 2-hour audiobook, and Gentle and Lowly I think is like a 5-hour audiobook. So neither one of them are that long. There's really no excuse for me not to read these two books before the end of the year. I'm going to be so mad and so disappointed in myself if I do not get these books read by December 31st. I've talked about already what the Calvary Road is about. I talked about that in my November TBR, so I'm not going to go into the synopsis for that. But for Gentle and Lowly, the synopsis basically says, how does Jesus feel about his people amid all their sin and failures? This audiobook takes listeners into depths of Christ's very heart, a heart of tender love drawn to sinners and sufferers. So yeah, I have a friend that read this book, and he was actually the one that recommended it to me. He really enjoyed it, so I have high hopes that this will be good. I just have to prioritize it. I keep saying that I'm gonna do it, and then like other things come up, and isn't that just how things work? Like, you always try to prioritize God, and then something comes up and you don't, you put him on the back burner. This is why I need to read these books. I need to get my life right, okay? I'm technically counting Calvary Road and Gentle and Lowly as holiday books because, like, you know, Christmas, Jesus. Actually, the next 3 books on this list are all for readathons. So the first one is called I Survived the Great Chicago Fire, 1871 by Lauren Tarshis. I think I said that last name right. The Chicago Fire was something that I had never even heard of until like early this year. It had to have been like January or February. I just so happened to like be bored, and I went on to Disney Plus and was like, oh, you know, feeling a little nostalgic. And so I decided to turn on So Weird. This was back when I had Disney Plus, which I don't anymore, RIP. I decided to watch So Weird, which was one of my favorite shows as a kid. And the episode that I ended up watching was an episode about the Chicago Fire, which I had never heard of until I watched this episode. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they said in that episode, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like fact check me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think they said that there were more casualties or like more fatalities in the Great Chicago Fire than there were on the Titanic, which is really surprising because the Titanic is one of those things that like everybody knows about the Titanic. Everybody knows what it was, everybody knows what happened, like we all know the story, Jack and Rose, even though those weren't real people, like we know, right? But that was something that happened like not even in America, that is so well known in America. Meanwhile, you have the Great Chicago Fire that happened right here in the United States that I have never heard anybody talk about before, and apparently there were so many people that died there. So I definitely want to read more about this. I thought that was so fascinating, learning about this event that took place. Disney is always so educational. That's why I love Disney. The synopsis says, Oscar Starling never wanted to come to Chicago, but then Oscar finds himself not just in the heart of the big city, but in the middle of a terrible fire. No one knows exactly how it began, but one thing is clear. Chicago is like a giant powder keg about to explode. An army of firemen is trying to help, but this fire is a ferocious beast that wants to devour everything in its path, including Oscar. Will Oscar survive one of the most famous and devastating fires in history? So I don't know if Oscar Starling is like a real person, or this is like a made-up character that the author created, and it, you know, the story is going to take place kind of like Jack and Rose. Like, Jack and Rose weren't real people, but the Titanic was a real thing, and so the writers, you know, made up this elaborate romance story that maybe could have definitely possibly happened in real life, but there's no actual evidence that any of that happened in real life. The next book that I will be reading that is also for a readathon is Arty, what is it called? Arty and the Wolf Moon, and I am reading this book for the Bookemon, like the mini round readathon that they're doing for December. So that I can get my little, you know, starter Pokemon. But I am joining Team Moon because I desperately wanted to be on Team Moon. She said Moonstone and I was like, say less. So obviously I picked a book that is about wolves. Haven't even read the synopsis, don't know anything about this book. I saw wolves on the cover, and that's all I needed to know. It says, after sneaking out against her mother's wishes, Arty Irvin spots a massive wolf, then watches it don a bathrobe and transform into her mom. Though to discover she comes from a line of werewolves, Arty asks her mom to share everything, including the story of Arty's late father. Her mom reluctantly agrees, and to help Arty figure out her own wolf-like abilities, her mom recruits some old family friends. Arty thrives in her new community and even develops a crush on her new friend Maya. But as she learns the history of werewolves and her own parents' past, she'll find that wolves aren't the scariest things in the woods. Vampires are. Oh, it's a story about wolves and vampires? Come on, let's go. That just made me so happy. I chose this book without even like reading the synopsis, and the fact that it's vampires and werewolves, this is exactly why I chose this team. And if you have not heard, Meredith is hosting a Bookemon, which is basically Pokemon but with books, readathon for the entire year of 2023, and I am one of the co-hosts for her readathon. So if you want more information about it, I will link her video down below and you guys can check it out. The next book that I will be reading that is also part of a readathon is The Silent Patient by Alex. I have no idea how to say this person's last name. It's like Michaelides, I don't know. But you guys know the book. I've talked about it on my channel before. It's one of my 5-star predictions for the year. So I'm hoping to really enjoy it. I have heard nothing but great things about this book. I hope that the hype doesn't get to me and, you know, end up disappointing me when I get to the end of the story. Hopefully it's not overhyped. The readathon that I'm reading it for is for Buzzwordathon, and the prompt for December is like a word that has to do with like sound or something like that. So, you know, silent, the lack thereof, you know. See what I did there? But I put this book off intentionally, knowing that I was going to read this for the month of December, and it is finally time to read this book. In terms of what it's about, I don't even fully remember, which I kind of like it that way. I kind of don't even want to read the synopsis because I don't want to know too much going into it. But I think it's about a girl who like killed her husband, and she's like in like a mental institution, and they send in like a therapist or something to like talk to her because she hasn't spoken since she killed her husband. And yeah, that's all I know. I don't know anything else beyond that, and I kind of want to keep it that way. The next book is also a book that I have had on my TBR since last year. I wanted to read it December of last year, and then I didn't get around to it, and I was like, kind of want to wait until, you know, next year's Christmas, only because I was told that this book takes place either during Christmas or around Christmas, or maybe maybe it doesn't have anything to do with Christmas at all. Maybe it just like takes place in the snow or something. I don't know. Something about something that someone told me about this book gave me the impression that I should read this around Christmas time. And so here we are going into December, and it is on the TBR finally. And I really want to get to this, and that is Family Game by Catherine, who was the author? Oh, Stedman. Catherine Stedman. I've been putting this book off for a long time. Completely forgot what it's about. But I remember last year when I kept hearing about it, it sounded like a book that I would be really interested in. Also, the cover looked pretty cool. So I am excited to finally be getting to it. And the synopsis says, the rules. 1, listen carefully. 2, do your research. 3, trust no one. 4, run for your life. That's solid. That's solid advice. Harriet Reed, a novelist on the brink of literary stardom, is newly engaged to Edward Holbeck, the heir of an extremely powerful family. And even though Edward has long tried to sever ties with them, news of the couple's upcoming marital bliss has the Holbecks inching back into their lives. As Harriet is drawn into their lavish world, the family seems perfectly welcoming. So when Edward's father, Robert, hands Harriet a tape of a book he's been working on, she is desperate to listen. But as she presses play, it's clear that this isn't just a novel, it's a confession. A confession to a grisly crime, a murder, and suddenly the game is in motion. Feeling isolated and confused, Harriet must work out if this is part of a plan to test her loyalty or something far darker. What is it that Robert sees in her? Why give her the power to destroy everything? This might be a game to the Holbeck family, but losing could still prove deadly. Ready or not, here they come. Wow, that sounds so interesting. I hope that the book lives up to what this synopsis just did. This synopsis just got me so excited for this book. It sounds so interesting, twisty, a little dark maybe, mystery, like, oh, it's everything that I love. So yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping that this lives up to what I am seeing in my brain based on the synopsis. And then last but not least, the final book that I'm hoping to read in the month of December is The Spare Room by Andrea Bart. It's not part of a readathon, but it is an ARC that I got. And the book is already out, so need to get on that. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this book before on my channel. In fact, this might also be in my November TBR. Yeah, matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it is in my November TBR because I think this is the book that has like the threesome situation, and I was like, ooh, I didn't know this was a threesome. You can go check out the November TBR because I talk about it there. But once again, another book that I said I wanted to read in November that I did not get around to reading. I'm not entirely surprised that there are quite a few books from November that made it onto the December list, because the way the Get a Clue readathon was set up, you really didn't know like what the prompts were going to be, when they were going to drop. But I'm hoping that by January these will be done, because I have a whole new like plan and like goal in terms of like prioritization and what I plan on reading for 2024, and these books don't really align with what my goals are for 2024, which I will talk more about in an upcoming video. So turn on post notifications so you know when my next video goes up, because it is coming soon. That is all from me. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books, and also let me know what books you plan on reading for the month of December. If you have any like holiday, Christmassy recommendations, let me know that down below in the comments. All of my socials and links will be down below in the description. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. That would mean so much to me. Would love to have you as part of the family, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.